Call to order the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting Tuesday, October 20th, 2020, 7 p.m. in the gallery room of the Chatham Community Center in Chatham, Virginia. Roll call.
Mr. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Dudley?
Present.
Mr. Farmer?
Here.
Mr. Chatham?
Present.
Dr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Scarce?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Here. I would ask that you observe a moment of silence with us, please. Thank you. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there items to be added to the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I've got several items to add to the agenda. Consent Agenda 7M Resolution 2020-10-03, resolution in opposition to any legislative effort to repeal or revise the judicial doctrine of qualified immunity for law enforcement officials. Approval. Presentation 8A, VACO Achievement Awards. That's Katie Boyle. New business 12B, resolution number 2020-10-04, relating to Franklin County / Cool Branch Fire and EMS coverage, and appointments. 13B, Planning Commission appointment. Chatham Blair's District, Richard Waters, Supervisor 1. And also have items to be moved to new business. Do you want that now?
Please.
Okay. 12A, Ringgold Rail Trail Engineering Services Agreement. Staff contact Richard Hicks. Discussion. Okay. Also, it's not on the sheet, but it's going to be presentation for the Star Tribune. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Got a second. So for clarity, you're moving the Ringgold Trail, which was 7K.
To 12A.
12A.
Yes, sir.
Any other changes?
No, sir.
Any further discussion? Okay, cast your vote, please. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimous. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please cast your votes. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I just have one follow-up question, Mr. Hunt.
Yes.
We had requested a 7A return check fee. We had requested some actual cost figures. Have we received those from the treasurer yet?
No, sir, but I promise the board that I will get them in time for our public hearing in November related to this matter.
Okay,
Yes,
just
sir.
want to be sure we have those. Thank you. Please cast your votes then.
I think Jeremy's out in the foyer.
You all will join me up here. Mask up, Mr. Scarce will be the one unmasked and do the reading for us.
I'd like to read a certificate of excellence. The Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors expresses its sincere congratulations to the Star Tribune for being named the 2019 Best Weekly Newspaper in the state of Virginia, based on an independent evaluation by the Virginia Press Association. The news and advertising teams provide outstanding journalism in advertising work for the citizens of the county, and the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors expresses its deepest congratulations and admiration to the Star Tribune for its accomplishment. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I'm usually the one taking them.
Want to say a few words?
No, thank you. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, all of you.
All right, that brings us down to item 8, presentations. 8A, Baker.
Mr. Warren, this is, and Board of Supervisors, this is Katie Boyle with the Virginia Association of Counties. She's coming forth to present 2 awards to the county that we won. I'll let her do it. I don't want to take your thunder. You go right ahead. Please.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Smitherman, Mr. Hunt. Good evening to you all. My name is Katie Boyle. I'm the Director of Government Affairs at the Virginia Association of Counties, and I'm so pleased to be back in Pittsylvania County tonight to present you with another VACO Achievement Award. And so just for the benefit of your constituents who may not be familiar with us, we were founded in 1934 to serve and support county officials. We support counties through our advocacy efforts, our educational programs, and our member services. In 2003, we established our Achievement Award program, which has a twofold purpose: to recognize counties that have adopted innovative approaches to providing public services, and also to identify programs that could serve as models for other counties to emulate. And so tonight, I'm very excited to present Pittsylvania County with 2 Achievement Awards. So our communications director used to be a sports writer, and he likes to keep statistics. And so this is our 18th Annual Achievement Awards. It's the 4th and 5th win for Pittsylvania County. Y'all won in 2010, 2014, and 2018 when you won the Best Overall Achievement Award. We received 76 entries this year, and we selected only 21 winners from 14 counties. So you can tell this is truly a selective program. Just wanted to take a moment to thank our judges, Ted Povar, who's retired as the Associate Director of the Virginia Institute of Government, Dr. Cheryl Bailey, who's visiting Professor of Practice at Virginia Tech and former Deputy County Administrator in Chesterfield County, and my former colleague Larry Land, who retired as Director of Policy Development at VACO. They always do a great job, and I just want to thank them publicly for all the time that they commit to this program. So I'm sure it's an understatement to say that this has been really a very challenging year. And so it's especially exciting for us as VACO staff to come out to our county members and celebrate the creative thinking of our member counties. Ted Povar has been a judge since the inception of this program, and he said something that I just wanted to share with you all. He said, "I continue to be inspired by the good work done by Virginia's counties. Year after year, counties prove that the Achievement Awards are a treasure trove of ideas and innovation." And so I'm extremely proud to present you with Achievement Awards for the Doggy Bag Thrift Store and the Regional Pet Food Pantry. And so when I was reading up about these programs, I was just so impressed about what a great partnership both of them represented. And so, Mr. Chairman, if it's all right with you, I think Mr. Smitherman might want to say a word or two about the program, and then I have a couple of plaques to present at the appropriate time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the benefit of the public, I know the board is well aware of both of these programs. The Doggy Bag Thrift Store is a partnership that the county enjoys with the Pittsylvania SPCA. It is innovative in that it is not only a partnership that is jointly housed in our pet center facility, but it is collecting thrift from our citizens that would otherwise land in the dump. And we know we're rescuing these things from the landfill because we collect them at our individual convenience center sites. We have about a half dozen sites of our 20-some in the county that have a special collection station where a supervised collection and donation is achieved, and we bring those back to the pet center where they are rehabbed and brought back to life by our SPCA folks who open the thrift store 3 days a week for our citizens' enjoyment. I can personally tell you there's a lot of great stuff in there, and that it is benefiting the animals of the county because we split the proceeds from the thrift store 50-50 with the SPCA, who staffs the store for us. So it's a great program, it's paying off great dividends, and it's driving traffic to our pet center, which means that we're able to adopt more animals. The second program, which was a regional pet food pantry, came about during COVID. Our former director, through partnerships, particularly with GreaterGood.org, Hills Science Diet, and others, created an opportunity for those that were without appropriate resources to care for their animals to pick up food and supplies on a drive-in basis. And that was offered throughout our region to needy pet owners. Again, keeping pets in their homes, keeping them out of the pet center, and avoiding unnecessary euthanasia. This program continues today. We have benefited by probably at least 160,000 pounds of dog food just in 2020 alone donated to us, which is tens and tens of thousands of dollars of value that we're able to repurpose into our community for our citizens' use. So both of these programs, the staff down there should be applauded. They continue to run them, and they are a great representation of Pittsylvania County government. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Why don't we have the board come up one more time, because I know Katie would like to get a picture for Betty.
Y'all come around here.
She comes in the middle. Ladies first. Ladies first. So you hold that. That's not. That's what you get paid for. Smile.
Guys look so good.
As if you could see the smile.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We'll have to keep these. Vice Chairman Scares, keep the others.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Okay, that completes the presentations tonight. We're down to hearing of the citizens. Each person addressing the board on the hearing of the citizens shall be a resident or landowner of the county, or the registered agent of such resident or landowner. Each person shall step up, give his or her name and district in an audible tone of voice for the record. And unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall be limited his or her address to 3 minutes. No person shall be permitted to address the board more than once during hearing of the citizens. All remarks shall be addressed to the board as a body and not to any individual member thereof. Hearing of the citizens shall last for a maximum of 45 minutes. Any individual that signs up to speak during said section who does not get the opportunity to do so because of the aforementioned time limit shall be given speaking priority at the next board meeting. Absent chairman's approval, no person shall be able to speak who has not signed up. Mr. Hunt, do we have anyone signed up?
We have Sonia Ingram.
Okay, Miss Ingram? Miss Ingram, Miss
I think she's outside.
Sonia Ingram.
We have a time delay.
Hello, I'm Sonia Ingram, and I live in Danville, but I'm from Pittsylvania County originally. And I'm here with my friend Ms. Patricia White, and she is a resident of Pittsylvania County in the Tunstall District. And just real briefly, so Ms. White lives on Mayfield Road in the Stokesland community, just sort of southwest of the city of Danville. And we are asking if someone could come out and meet with Ms. White and me to discuss the heavy truck traffic on Mayfield Road. Mayfield Road's very narrow and very curvy road, and it's dangerous for the residents. But it's not a new issue. One of the reasons that we're here tonight to sort of bring this to your attention is because we're having a historical marker placed on Mayfield Road, hopefully in the next few weeks, I would say. And it's the historical marker is to commemorate a cemetery. It's an African-American cemetery. It's got at least 250 people buried there. It was established by freed slaves after emancipation. So Ms. White and her organization, we've been working for about 5 years to research it. So this area off of Mayfield Road too, it's not just a cemetery, it really is a community, and it's a historic African-American community. My glasses keep fogging up. But there's a Stokesland Rosenwald School that's just down a little bit from the cemetery, and there's a lot of people that live out there. But quickly, like in the 1970s, there was a lot of, I don't know if it was rezoned or if it was just, there's a lot of industrial development. So if you go there now, there's warehouses and there's a flooring company. It's a lot of parking lots. But there's a truck company as well. And the residents have had a lot of air quality issues and noise issues. But the trucks are really dangerous. And we just think it's going to be more dangerous when we get the historical marker in. So we'd like to, that's why we're here today, to sort of bring this to your attention. So, and I have our emails and phone numbers too.
If you give it to County Administrator, Mr. Smitherman, who's standing just outside the door, and ask him to reach out to the sheriff, if you'll contact him with the dates of the dedication of the sign. I'm sure the sheriff will work to at least control traffic there, and Mr. Smitherman can provide you with some contact information to VDOT, who would control the road and the trucking.
Go ahead.
I have contacted VDOT several times, and they have came out also, and it's just the road is so narrow. I be walking in the morning, and I don't even have nowhere to go because the train coming there and went in, and those trucks just take over. And one day I was going through there, and one truck was going one way, the other was going. I was in the middle. I didn't know where to go, so they all screamed, on the ground and stuff. But it was very scary. And then it knocks the mailboxes down, and the fumes from the trucks, the diesel fuel and all that, it just stops you up. And with everything else going on and all this dust and all this pollution in the air, it causes us so we can't hardly breathe in there. a lot else.
Excuse me. It's not just the event that we're talking about. We'd like for somebody to come out to talk about some long-term solutions to.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do we have someone else signed up? That's it? Okay. We'll move to public hearing, rezoning public hearing. Case number 1 for public hearing is rezoning case number R-20-021, First Piedmont Corporation, Dan River Election District, R1 to M2. And I'll open the public hearing at 7:20 and turn it over to Ms. Ragsdale.
Case R-20-021, First Piedmont Corporation has petitioned to rezone 1.32 acres located on Clarks Mill Road in the Dan River Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to M2 Industrial District Heavy Industry to make the zoning consistent with their adjacent parcels of land zoned M2. The Planning Commission recommended by a 4-0 vote with opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to M2, all uses listed under Section 35-402 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ben Davenport, Mr. Tommy Stump, and Mr. Nick Sutliff are here to represent the petition.
Okay. Gentlemen, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Tommy Stump. I'm the President and CEO of First Piedmont Corporation. And just a brief synopsis of what we're doing here. On the east side of Clarks Mill Road, we own a tract that's about 18 acres. It's all zoned M2, to the north of us, the south of us, behind us, and in front's Clarks Mill Road on the front. Across the road from this tract, we have several hundred acres that is a permanent landfill. We recently, last week in fact, received a special use permit to move it forward from a grandfathered status to a full status M2 with a special use permit for landfill purposes. What we're here tonight about is a 1.03 acre tract that's across the road from the landfill. It's not part of the landfill. It originally, many years ago, had a home on it. The residents came to us, wanted to sell the home. We bought it. We disassembled it. We donated it to Habitat for Humanity. And for many years, it sat there as an M2 tract with this one acre, roughly, tract right in the middle that's zoned R1. Our desire is to bring it up consistent with the zoning that's around it. Again, north, south, behind it, the road in the front, all M2. It's a total of 18 acres. I know you're going to hear some concern tonight about the landfill and us. This is a guise or whatever for an expansion for our landfill. This land is not even zoned landfill. A landfill under M2 has to have a special use permit. So even if we, and let me say this, if you took this, it's a small 18-acre tract with this residential in the middle. Even if we did say we want to put a landfill there, you've got setbacks from the creek, setbacks from the back property line, the road along the front, Clarks Mill Road. You may have an 18-acre tract that would turn into a 5-acre tract. It'd be like trying to run a 100-head cow-calf operation on 5 acres of land. It just doesn't work. It's not feasible. One last thing I'll say on that, even if by some bizarre reason we lost our mind and we wanted to do a 5-acre landfill tract 20 years from now, the county still has final say over it because it would require a special use permit. This just brings it into M2 conformance with what's around it. So again, I can assure you there's no intent whatsoever to have a landfill there. And if it was, once again, the county governing body would have to issue a special use permit which it doesn't have now. It's strictly, I look at this no different than if we had an 18-acre M2 tract in the Gretna district or Tunstall district or whatever. It stands alone. It's not part of the landfill. And I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of comments about the neighboring landfill. And it is beside the landfill, but it is not physically connected to the landfill. It's separated by the highway, and it's permit-wise, there's no connection. And that's pretty much it. If anybody's got any questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Anyone from any questions for Mr. Stump at this time? Okay, thank you, Mr. Stump. If you all stay around, because I'm sure we got some people signed up. Okay, thank you, Mr. Stump.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann, and I can't read the last name.
Smith.
Okay.
Thank you for this opportunity for allowing me to address each and every one of you. I'm glad we are meeting in this room. At the last two meetings, we had a difficult time hearing because the room was so big and the microphones, people weren't speaking into them. So I'm glad that issue is resolved. I live at 985 Cedar Road. That's approximately 1 mile from First Piedmont Landfill. I spoke at the first meeting about my concerns, and they remain the same, as no action has been taken. I was promised by the landfill and DEQ advised the trash hill that's behind the church in front of that landfill was to be covered with a liner, then soil, then grass by October the 19th. That was yesterday. Nothing's been done. Also, promises were made the horrible odors that is emitted from that landfill would stop. A new machine was going to be put into action, and then they would dissipate. We would not smell that anymore. I had spoken with Mr. Davenport at the first community meeting in 2018. He advised me the problems would be fixed, but they have not. This past spring, Mr. Davenport actually came to my home to discuss the issue and stated at that time he wished he had put this landfill at his 2,000-acre farm, that he wanted to be a good neighbor. Mr. Stowe on 10/6 advised a group of citizens outside the door when we were waiting to get in that there was nothing that we could do because the First Piedmont landfill was a lost cause. Mr. Davis advised me in the fall of 2019 at my home when he attended a Brunswick stew and singing with his group that Mr. Davenport put so much money in the community that nothing could be done. I would like to ask, who gives this company the right to pollute the air that I breathe and other residents in my community? Also, as board members, why are you not listening and protecting the citizens of this community? If you had this horrible, horrible smell in your yard and inside your home almost every day, I would suspect you would do something about it. There are many lawsuits across the United States right now associated with landfills concerning odors. One was just finalized for $4 million regarding the Stony Hollow landfill in Dayton, Ohio. In my final comment, I would like to address each of you, including Mr. Davenport. What would you do if you had this situation at your home? I will support you with my prayer that you will make the right decisions concerning this landfill and that you can live with yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Next.
So Jerry,
When you come up, please state your name, please.
My name is Jerry Lanning. I live at 824 Cedar Road. Bear with me because I may get a little nervous. I thank you for hearing us today. We are pleading that you pause to do your research. The family property owners that this decision will permanently impact to deserve this board to do your duly and to do your due diligence, as this will have irreparable consequences to each family represented here tonight and to each others that could not be here tonight. No one here is on the member of this board lives close to the proximity of this dump and is impacted by your horrific data and will suffer from the devaluation of the property values. Come and sit with us for a while before casting your vote. The fresh air you breathe outside your home is likely something we all took for granted. One day, our days spent outside at our homes and the very lifestyle we invested in our purchasing of homes has been taken from us. The decision of this board has permanent impacts on our lives, not yours. First Piedmont has lied to us in the past, and now you want us to believe what they are again telling us and promising us. The situation has worsened and has not got any better. Mr. Davenport wants to be a good neighbor. The good neighbor definition is respecting others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danny Oliver.
How you doing? My name's Danny Oliver. I live at 2522 Mountain Hill Road. My mother lives at 317 Cedar Road. My grandfather lives at 180 Old Oak Trail, and my sister lives at 153 Old Oak Trail. I have 7 issues to round up of the Davenport dump site. The first issue of the dump site has been the fire hazard. We've had a couple of instances where it's caught on fire. One where people they were planning on evacuating homes. The main thing is the safety of the public, in my eyes, and I don't see that when I see that there's really nothing being done about the situation. My second issue is that all of the chemicals being burned underground and, buried underground and burned above ground, what is the potential of it contaminating our well waters? Let's see here. If we find that people are starting to get cancer or any other major situation, there is, who do we sue? Who will we go to? For any situation that could possibly arise. My third issue is if you're going out on a hot day, humid day, generally pretty much any day, the smell, it's sickening. My mother lives at Cedar Road, as I said before, and Davenport is almost literally on the other side of the trees, and it is horrible behind her house. She had a shed removed, and the guy that was removing the shed had to leave and come back. The last thing I would like to state is that my grandfather, he built his house there. My great-grandfather's house is there. Sorry. I want my son to live there. We've lived there our entire lives. We've lived there for over almost 100 years. We will be there. We were there long before, and we will be there long after. I can't express the need for the safety of everybody involved. We need to know that our water is safe. We need to know that it's not going to harm us. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Ragston.
Angie Harris.
Good evening. How is everyone this evening? My name is Angie Harris, and I live at 2721 Cedar Road with my husband and 2 children. We've lived there 17 years now. Last Sunday, several people in our community of Mountain Hills, Cedar Road, Clarks Mill Road, Cheney Store Road, etc., met to discuss the upcoming meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We were advised the Board of Supervisors meeting is the final request from First Piedmont to rezone a small amount of acreage across the road from First Piedmont on Clarks Mill Road. We have attended the Planning Commission meeting as well as the Board of Zoning meeting to no avail. We realize this is just a rezoning issue, but there's so much more involved. And I say this with deepest respect to Mr. Davenport, but he and his staff have stated, not just to us, but to so many of our community, that they want to be good neighbors and they want to do all this, but they have done nothing to help the toxicity of the air that is surrounding us. And we are already adversely affected on a daily basis with the tremendous toxic smells that are in our air and taking over our neighborhood, as well as the decrease of land value and the loss of neighbors who have lived most of their lives there, who have chosen to leave our area due to their backyards becoming cesspools. I appreciate that the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning takes Mr. Davenport and his associates to their word about the cleaning of the air and with his new machine that they have bought but just can't seem to get it working. But since we have been made this promise for several years and nothing has happened, we feel like they need to be held accountable and maybe have a deadline. We talked about this at the meeting, and I really feel like if we could just give them a deadline to have this done by, so all these promises may be kept to us and make us feel a little better. I myself, as many of the neighbors, have contacted the DEQ about the innumerable violations that go on a regular basis at First Piedmont. DEQ has done nothing, little to nothing, to call First Piedmont on these violations. So if the DEQ is not holding them accountable, what says that anyone will ever do so? We are not a rich community, but we love where we live, and we do not want to see the disembowelment of our little community's land depreciate any more than it already has. We have worked a lifetime to make our land and houses, and we get infuriated with just a stroke of a pen that this will end all that. Today I plead with the board, we as citizens of Pittsylvania County would appreciate you taking the time to do your research before making such a quick decision, and if that's not possible, please make a decision to have a time frame to hold them accountable. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mike,
Good evening. My name is Mike Basista, and I reside at 1449 Cedar Road. I'm a retired chemical engineer with over 39 years of industrial experience, some of which intersected with DEQ and air pollution abatement technology. I would like to address the issues of dust and debris on Clarks Mill Road and the odor issues from the landfill CEO's comments and publicly available DEQ documents. First off, we were told by the CEO that they employ washer and sweeper trucks. Now, I've lived in this community for 8 years, and I've never seen such a device in operation. And there are probably 20 people behind me and many more outside who can attest to that fact also. So when we are told that the cleaning is occurring, we are led to only two possible conclusions. Either these folks here don't know the difference between a clean and a filthy road, or the CEO or his designee has not verified that this is the case and is merely referring to the written SOP that was completed. Secondly, I'd like to address the odor issue from comments made by the CEO and DEQ documents. We are told that the landfill is employing a gas scrubber to mitigate odors. These devices, commonly referred to as gas liquid absorption towers, are standard devices used in industry. In fact, I have personally designed such devices in the past. They are simple in concept and quite effective in a closed system. That is, where the gases are 100% captured and sent to the scrubber. From the DEQ letter of 5/16/19, we are told that the landfill is using this technology at the pump station and leachate pond tank. I have no doubt that this device is effective in controlling odors at that source, but this is a very limited source. The vastly more significant source of odors is coming from the exposed trash not being covered. From the DEQ letter of 8/26/19, section 20-81-200, and I quote, DEQ recommends minimizing the size of the working face of exposed trash to decrease odors. And again, on 2/26/20, in their warning letter, observation 3, paragraph 2, DEQ is concerned that the lack of soil cover is causing the landfill to be prone to fires and odor issues due to the large areas of exposed waste. The vastly more significant odors. Therefore, when we are told that this odor issue is being addressed by odor abatement technology, the more significant issue of uncovered waste is being ignored or vastly underemphasized to this community's detriment. In conclusion, there seems to be a disconnect between what we are being told and the actual condition. It comes down to one word: accountability. Who is verifying that what is being said is actually being done? Thank you.
Thank you.
David Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board, thank you. I'm David Owen. I'm the pastor at Non-Denominational Christian Tabernacle, 1406 Mountain Hill Road. I don't have a lot of notes. I'm just speaking from my heart. I don't live there. My wife came originally from there, and her family's there. But what I can talk about is these wonderful people that I'm here to support, that are our church members, but also the smell. It's getting unbearable. 2 weeks ago on a rainy Sunday, during church, we had to close the doors, get in. We couldn't even meet on the front porch. It was unbearable. The smell is just getting worse and worse. My father-in-law lives on Al Road, about 3 miles down. He told me this morning the smell is even starting to come down that way. My sister lives on Bermuda Road in Green Acres, which is near the airport, and she said now the smell is starting to even come this far. And it's not about anything, it's just about the odor. And I listen to these people speak, and my heart says, I don't want that at my house. I live 20 miles away. I don't want it near me or my family, because it is unbearable. These people in Mountain Hill are a wonderful family bunch. They love to sit in their yards and be together. They love to fellowship together, but it's getting impossible. Now we have to move our functions at church, that we have an outside covered area. We have to now move them inside. And it's just, something has to be done. I'm not here to criticize or threaten or anything like that, but you know, it's something needs to be done. And I will say this much: in Numbers 35:33, it says, you should not pollute the land that you live on. And I think if any of these gentlemen or anybody that's involved in this, they would not want that in their land. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Curtis Strader.
I mean to say good evening to the members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Curtis Strader. Let me set the record straight. I'm not a citizen of Pittsylvania County. I pastor the White Rock Missionary Baptist Church on Cedar Road. You didn't have a space there for me. You had business. I don't own the business, but I pastor the people there. I'm here this evening because I'm concerned. If I leave White Rock, drive out of the driveway, and make a right, and go south down Cedar Road, I look over to the left, and there is all this trash. You built the hill way up, all this trash. People come out of that back door. That's what they see. Somebody told an untruth, because they said that we'll cover it, we'll put some grass there. It hadn't been done. I come to church on Wednesday evening whenever we were going, Sunday morning, and if it has rained, let me use it in a good way, the aroma or the stench is unbearable. And on a good rain, and if you're going down 58 East or going west, that odor is always out there. People who live in that area, their property is worthless. They can't give it away. And so I'm here this evening to say to us that something needs to be done about the toxicity of the odor that comes. We've got this machine, and it's going to be able to do this, and it's going to take the odor away. Another untruth. Somebody has to give an account of that. And so I'm here on behalf of the parishioners of the White Rock Missionary Baptist Church, and to say to the members of this Board of Supervisors, not one of you who sit here would want to live in that kind of a situation. We can do better. And I'm saying to those of you who have been elected by the citizens of this county, you ought to make sure that things do get better. Thank you.
Robin Rawson.
My name is Robin Rawson. I live at 1125 Cedar Road. I've been a lifelong resident of the Mountain Hill community. I appreciate y'all listening to me here tonight. On October the 6th, I attended the Planning Committee meeting. Our community spoke against the special use permits, as well as we spoke against the rezoning of the property across the road at Clarks Mill Road from R1 to M2. It seemed kind of obvious to me that our concerns were really not listened to very well. When it came time for the vote, of course, the special use permit passed. When it came time to vote for the rezoning, the vote came out as no. Once they all realized that they had voted in a way that I don't think they anticipated voting, they changed their votes and had a majority of yes. That was not a very good way to conduct a meeting, in my opinion. I've been to many meetings, but I've never had a take back before. I'm here tonight to once again to oppose the rezoning of the 1.32 acres located on the opposite side of Clarks Mill Road. On October the 6th, Mr. Settler's argument was to keep their lands consistent and with the zoning and construct a couple of offices and a conference room. I would like to provide the same argument for our community. We would like to keep the zoning consistent at R1 and not change it to M2. First Piedmont was well aware of what the zoning was when they purchased the land. In addition, First Piedmont has offices less than 1.5 miles from the landfill entrance on 58 East. They can simply get in their car and go to an office. If they don't have enough room, they have ample space to build rooms. I have been on the location because I attended the meeting there a couple of years ago. So there's ample space there for a couple of offices and a conference room. They have been granted the special use permit on over 200 acres. There's ample room there that they can build as well. I would also like to think that the people that we elect to serve us listen to what we have to say and are aware of our concerns. There is a lot of mistrust. In an email from Mr. Davis, he said that there was a new approach that cost thousands of dollars from Piedmont being purchased from a scientific developer in Georgia to sell landfill gases. We were never told this at the special use permit hearing. This just came out in his email. So obviously there was people privy to information that was not disclosed to us. We do have a high level of mistrust. The concerns of our community have not been addressed in 40 years. We have not been listened to. And I plead with you not to approve this. There are just as many good reasons not to approve it as they seem to think they have to approve it. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you.
Julie Owens.
My name is Julie Owen, and I reside at 495 Coy Creek Lane in Ringgold. It's really difficult to get up here and talk about the big key issues and only be given 3 minutes to speak. Before I go further, I would like to mention Mr. Stump. In his statement earlier, he didn't mention the office building that they say that they're going to build on that 1.32 acres. Not sure why that was left out of the summary there at the beginning. But that's what we're opposed to. As Ms. Ross just said, We want to keep our zoning consistent as well. We would much rather look at a hayfield or cows in a pasture than look at office buildings. We moved away from the city because we didn't want to live in a city environment. Another thing I want to talk about is accountability. That's been mentioned earlier as well. And who's responsible there? We've got huge safety issues in our community as a result of First Piedmont. We have loose gravel on the road, we have rocks, road debris, loose metal flying off of trucks. We have unknown substances leaking from those trucks. We have residents with broken windshields. We had a motorcycle wreck and a fatality at the entrance at First Piedmont on Clarks Mill Road because the motorcycle driver hit the gravel and wrecked. I believe all that gravel is supposed to be cleaned up and not in the roadway. We have school buses going up and down the road. When it rains, it's a solid sheet of mud across there. You cannot even see the yellow line in the road. We've contacted VDOT, and it's just not a safe entrance for them now, and if they have a building across the road, we know it will not be safe there either. There's going to be increased traffic back and forth. VDOT has already stated in an email that's in your packets, I believe, that there is not sufficient sight line for a commercial entrance. So when is the safety of the residents going to be priority? Another thing is negligence. We've been called liars. I hardly think that all of these people that have showed up to each and every one of these meetings are lying about anything. This is what we live with every single day. No one listens to us. We have asked and asked. We are forming a community group, and we are going to be asking questions, and we are expecting answers from our leadership in this county. I do have a few pieces of information, we have photos of the entrance. We have the fires that have become an issue at the landfill. We have the dust. I'd like to share those pictures with you. I have an email I was asked to submit on behalf of a resident who's unable to be here for medical reasons. We have the questions, and then finally we have an article from the Conservation Law Foundation.
You can share all of that with the county attorney.
Thank you very much.
Linda Galvin.
My name is Linda Brooks Galvin. I have lived on Star Road in Mountain Hill since 1973. I live roughly 1.5 to 2 miles below the landfill near the North Carolina. I started picking up on the odor from the landfill at my house in the fall of 2015. In 2016, several concerned residents of Mountain Hill, including myself, had 2 meetings with county officials and a final meeting on April 21st of 2016 at the First Piedmont office on 58 East with Mr. Davenport, several of his employees, and Mr. Davis, our Dan River District Supervisor. The purpose of the meetings were to allow the residents to voice their concerns about the odors, health issues, especially the high incidence of cancer and deaths among residents living in close proximity to the landfill. There were also a lot of concerns voiced of people worrying about the possibility of their water supply being contaminated from the water runoff from the landfill. That has been over 4 years ago since we had our meetings, and we are still having to deal with some of the same issues. We just keep getting the same and some of the same remarks thrown back at us. We are working on it. These are made by First Piedmont employees, by the DEQ that is well aware of our complaints, and by the EPA. Does no one take the residents of this community seriously? I have a couple of questions, mainly to First Piedmont. Back in 2016, we were told they were installing methane burners that was to burn the odors off. And from my research, that is a very, very expensive process for landfill owners. My question, so what makes you think the new methane gas extractor process when the new air scrubber machine is going to work any better. If the process does work, it will be a very beneficial, profitable business for First Piedmont. Isn't that correct? It's a fact that the methane extractor can be used to convert the drills, drilling of the holes to pull up the gases. The methane can be broke down and converted into a form of natural gas that can be sold to big energy companies, or just as an example, used as fuel for trash trucks. Wow, that is another big win-win for First Piedmont. In the meantime, what happens to the community that has to deal with the leftover gases that have been air from the methane, such as hydrogen sulfide, the stinking, rotten egg smelling chemicals? Our community will still have to continue to deal with the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ragsdale.
Julie Griffin.
Good evening. My name is Julie Griffin. I live at 565 Cedar Road. Our community opposed to the rezoning from R1 to M2 under Section 3542, which all 125 uses listed are permitted, including but not limited to offices, waste collection, which is the nature of First Piedmont's business. Under 35401 states such zoning will be subject to intense review for locational impact on surrounding land and environment, public nuisances. This being said, First Piedmont borders the city line and runs into the county, surrounded by residential agricultural land with at least 8 churches within 2 to 10 miles radius. Will also, is Clark's Mill Road up to secondary road state standards, and will they be maintained to DOT standards if rezoning is issued? On August 27th, application was turned in without a site development plan. Has one been submitted and reviewed? Also, what are the county's intention to evaluate and monitor First Piedmont for compliances with Pittsylvania County zoning ordinance on this property if passed? I live on the border of this landfill. This is my view. My husband's 4 generations in this Mountain Hill area. I'm 10 years in. I love this community. I look at this. First Piedmont makes promises. We have not gotten any. We're still here 4 years after that meeting, which we took 2 years to get to tell you that we need to stop First Piedmont spread. I do not want this to infest the rest of our community. And this is the only route we have, is to come to our Board of Supervisors to help us, to guide us, to protect us. Those pictures are from my yard or the yard next door to me. I took them. And I thank y'all for the time.
Pastor Ben Ford. Pastor Ben Ford.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Ben Forrest, and I actually am the pastor of the Stinky Church, as we are called on a regular basis, because we actually are the church that is literally right up against Mr. Davenport's little moneymaker that smells so horrible and has garbage floating over to on a regular basis, and we have all kinds of events that we try to plan and have out there where garbage flies over on top of us while we're having our little get-togethers, and the smell is pretty horrible, pretty horrible to deal with. I am not a troublemaker by no means. I'm a man of God. I'm a pastor, and so by that, definition, I would like to be a peacemaker. That doesn't necessarily mean a peacekeeper in the sense that a peacekeeper is somebody that just kind of sits back and lets whatever happen, so that way nobody's feathers gets ruffled, or say somebody who has really big pockets and lots of money in the community doesn't make it hard on people like yourselves sitting here. I don't mean to be disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. I don't really know how all this works. But it does seem to me that I hear a lot of these people asking you gentlemen sitting right here who don't live in our community, who don't smell what we smell, doesn't have to breathe in what we're breathing in, doesn't have to deal with what we're dealing with on a regular basis. It seems to me these people are asking for you gentlemen to step up and to do the right thing, whether we have as much money as he does or not, whether we have the ability to do this, do that, whatever it is, but to just do the right thing. That's just, to me, I guess the message that I would preach tonight would be enough is enough. At some point, folks, enough is enough. It's time to step up and just do the right thing. That's just plain and simple. Our rights are being infringed on. I would hate to try to coin a phrase here tonight that's already been used quite frequently, but to me, this seems like a social injustice. It seems like the people that live in this community, the people that are there, the people who are trying to have church, that on a regular basis can't even go outside because we have stuff floating over on top of our church that smell unbelievably horrible, terrible smells on a regular basis. We're the people that are living in that community. We're the people that are trying to be in that community, and we're getting drove out by somebody that, I get it, I understand how it works, gentlemen. They have really big pockets, they got a lot of money, and so therefore they get hurt a little bit more than we do. Folks, enough is enough. It's just not okay. It just isn't okay to continue to let this happen. I get it, they're saying, oh, we're just going to buy this little piece of property and put a, come on. Did they not say that however many years ago when they started off? And then little by little, every chance they get, just kind of up the ante? All you have to do is talk to them for about a half a second to recognize what's going on, folks. That's all it takes. I guess my time is up. I'm a preacher. I could go on a whole lot longer, but to be honest with you, I guess what I would say is, do your jobs, folks. That's all I'm asking.
Judy Howard. Judy Howard.
Good evening. My name is Judy Talbert, and I live at 660 Cheney Store Road, where I have resided for the past 43 years. I'm a lifetime resident of the Mountain Hill community. It is the only place that I've ever called home. Over the years, I've heard a lot of comments about my community. It's called a rough place. I wouldn't go there after dark. But now we are known for our stinking odors. Or, oh, you live out near the dump. And sometimes we're even referred to as Mount Trashmore. My late husband built the house that I live in with his own hands, with the help of good neighbors, family, and friends. So I don't need anybody to tell me that if I can't live with conditions that first Piedmont on my neighborhood, that I should sell out and move. It is a much deeper commitment. It is my home. I have heard the phrase, "We want to be good neighbors," repeated so many times that it has turned into a joke within our community. It was even reported on the 5 o'clock news on WDBJ7 last week. Being a good neighbor does not mean that you cover the road with rocks, mud, sand, debris, and whatever else that flies out of your trucks. Being a good neighbor does not mean stinking up the neighborhood with unbearable odors, some days a lot worse than others. Being a good neighbor does not include being dishonest about what your true intentions are. Being a good neighbor does not make everyone else suffer the consequences of what you're doing just to make another fortune. Being a good neighbor means being honest, showing integrity, having respect, and being accountable, and doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. We in the Mountain Hill community ask you, our county supervisors, to represent us as you were elected to do, and to remember that as our elected officials, this is your neighborhood too. We ask you to consider exactly what you are allowing to be done, what you are imposing on us, your neighbors, and your voters. We are asking you to be good representatives and good neighbors and deny this rezoning permit request. Thank you.
That's it. Mr. Stump, or anyone from First Piedmont like to respond?
Good evening. My name is Nick Saliff. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at First Piedmont Corporation. There was quite a bit said. I was trying to jot down everything so I could address it for the benefit of you all as well as the community. One of the first things I wrote down was the liner. They were told the liner was supposed to be completed on October 19th. That was never said. We were supposed to start the liner on October 19th. Rain and weather didn't allow us to do that, so it's been pushed back to next Monday. But that's when we'll start the process, and it'll probably take 2 to 3 weeks to finish, but it's not something that you can just snap your fingers and have it completed. There's a lot of talk about the situation has worsened and it's not gotten any better. I would say that's a completely false statement. From 2019 to this time, this year to this time, our odor complaints have decreased 77%. We think that's a contributing factor is the odor machine that we had running throughout the spring and summer. It's no longer being ran right now because we had a version 1 prototype that we were using. We were constantly having to add solution to keep the pH at the right level where it actually could eat up the odor. In addition, of all the residents in a 1 mile radius of the landfill, less than 3% have complained to DEQ this year. So I would say it hasn't gotten worse, it's actually gotten better, and it's gotten quite a bit better. As far as the dirt, the dust and debris on Cedar Road, VDOT has came out twice since last week. They started getting complaints from the residents. Both times they said the road was fine, we were doing a great job keeping it clean. We do have a sweeper. We run it regularly, and VDOT came out and checked off on that, and they agreed with us. The size of the working face that was brought up in one of our DEQ inspection reports, that's been minimized tremendously, and we also think that contributes to the decrease in odor complaints we've gotten this year. I think that's the main ones I got, Tommy.
Obviously, as you've heard, we've got some concerns from our neighborhood. And I jotted down a number of notes. I'd be glad to speak with anyone in the community. It sounds like there were a lot of concerns and complaints beyond the odor that just didn't have all the facts. And Ben, Nick, any of us would be glad to sit down, phone call, meet you at the site, tell you what's going on. The comment about we were collecting methane and selling it. There was, I understand some folks that talked about municipal solid waste producing methane and you could sell it. That is true. Municipal solid waste was identified with the acronym MSW in the article, is household garbage. That's what the county produces at the county landfill. Industrial waste, we're taking wood, pallets. Yes, we take some asbestos that's buried in a special way, covered. We take carpet. Those wastes don't produce MSW. So the fear that we're going to pipe it and send it somewhere and sell it and it's just about more profit, I can stand here without a doubt tell you that the amount of landfill methane that's in that landfill, if you flattered or captured it, wouldn't fuel a waste to energy plant 60 days. Most of these plants that run off of landfill gas, they'll run 20 and 30 years, and they are MSW landfills. Loose gravel, Nick addressed that. We have a 3-wheel sweeper with a lady that follows on a SUV vehicle with a light for safety purposes and follows him as we sweep the road. We did have 2 inspections this week on that. And, you know, we're highly regulated by DEQ. And there's all these questions about what are y'all going to do. In our opinion, that's who regulates us. And if they come in and we've got an area of concern that's written up as a warning letter, it used to be called an area of concern, it's now called an alleged violation. It's not a violation, it's an alleged violation. We have never had a violation of our permit. We've had warning letters. The county gets, pretty much any landfill that you go to gets warning letters that says you got a rut in the road. It's as simple as that. Fire truck may not be able to pass here, fix the rut in the road. You've got some wash on that fresh soil that you put on that slope that doesn't have vegetation to hold it in place. Fix that. We have 20 days to fix it, send pictures, and let them know that we complied. I think in the last year we got 2 deficiency letters pertaining to the exact kind of things I'm talking about, and we got 2 that were no deficiency letters. So DQ works with us hand in glove. We're not just out there doing what we want to do any time of the day. We're constantly being monitored by DEQ. They receive phone calls about the odors. We receive phone calls. Nick's computation of the decrease in odors was a combination of both. We called DEQ and got their list, combined it with our list, and we ran a number of January to September, was it, of last year? January through October of last year, and January through October of this year, and that's where we had the 77% drop. It appears to me that the increase in concerns and of odor and so forth, this really ramped up when those signs went up about special use permit. And I think there's a lot of unfounded fear there that, again, we're willing in a reasonable, sensible way, without calling each other liars, to sit down and talk to anybody, any group, at any time, 1 at a time, 2 on 2, whatever, and explain what we're doing. We can't explain it if we don't have an opportunity. But I'll close, gentlemen, by saying that again, back to what I said in the beginning, this has nothing to do with the landfill. This is a separate tract of land. It's not permitted as landfill. It's M2. It doesn't have a special use permit as a landfill. And I think what is being said today is possibly some of the things they're saying may be relevant, but it has no relevance to what we're talking about tonight in rezoning this tract of land that is simply adjacent. As I said, to me, it would be no different than if it was 17 or 18 acres in Gretna. It's a totally separate tract. That's all I have, and I thank you for your time.
Hold on, Mr. Stump. Does any of the board members have any questions for Mr. Stump or Mr. Davenport?
You was talking about putting on the 19th that you was going to start with the weather permitting and all. Yes, sir. Have you started that? Today's the 20th, and how long will it take to cover, and how much reduction of smell?
Right now, it's scheduled to start on October 26th.
Okay. Which is Monday.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I would say the time frame would probably be 2 weeks to get the cap actually on and welded.
Yes, sir.
Probably an additional 2 to 3 weeks to get the soil on, get it seeded, everything like that.
Okay.
But essentially, that 12 acres of the landfill that we're capping, it's going to be welded on all sides.
Okay.
So everything that's in there is going to be trapped. And I know one of the gentlemen mentioned that he had a hard time believing the odor system would be able to scrub that air unless it was in a closed system. Everything that's welded inside of there is in that landfill cell. We're going to pull a vacuum on it and feed it through our machine where it will be scrubbed.
Okay.
There's 2 ways that the gas is getting.
Excuse me.
Once we get the cap on the landfill, it's a synthetic cap, 30 mil thick synthetic cap, and that's all sealed, it's been sealed. Each acre of land, we're capping on that land, approximately 12 acres. Each acre has a vent.
Yes, sir.
And that vent is all daisy chained to this scrubber unit. In the bottom of the landfill, you have another line with leachate lines, so when you have rainfall, the water goes into the leachate system. Well, there's clean-out vents for that too.
Right.
You can take those vents off, and you've got over there. So over the bottom, over the top. All of that, the top 12 vents, the bottom laterals and the trunk line that's in the leachate system will all be piped to this large vacuum system that will, so, you know, right now we've got an uncapped landfill,
Yes, sir.
and you run a dozer across it, you got it over there, and squeeze out a crack or whatever. Once it's completely capped and these vents are in place, we're very confident that it really makes this other machine work better.
Yeah.
And then what we're talking about is everything that's on the end of the landfill that's closest to a lot of these residents, the gentleman with the church that's behind us.
Yes, sir.
That is through and finished. It's done. And we're moving to the north toward the industrial park, industrial park. So we're confident that we're close on it. We've had some delays. We were supposed to start Monday. The rain we had from the, whichever one of the Delta or whatever that came through, pushed us back a couple of days waiting for some dry weather. But we're ready to start that. If we don't get some other call from the contractor, we don't do that. The third party guy does that.
Yes, sir.
He's scheduled for Monday.
Other questions? Mr. Stump, I'm looking at a map that was provided by Ms. Ragsdale. It's red and green. If you all can pull it up on the screen. Can you get it on the screen? Yeah. Anyway, it looks like you got this R1 section that sits right in the middle of two M2 sections. Do you own, First Piedmont owns the sections on each side, correct?
All that's red on the east side of the road is empty. You own all of that.
You own all that. The land behind this property, do you all own that now?
Behind it is approximately 50 acres that we bought a couple of years ago. A lot of that land is wetland. We bought it for buffer zone. What's it zoned? R1. It's zoned R1. We're not asking to change it. You can't put a landfill on R1.
Right.
So, yeah, that's all.
And you can't put a landfill fill on wetland, as we've learned from looking at our landfill.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But there are a lot of things that can be done on M2 that sits on both sides of this that I wouldn't want in my neighborhood as a neighborhood. So, you know, you rest assured as citizens, you'd rather have an office building on this property than what some things could go on the M2s that are already on both sides. You know, so that's the way, obviously, it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan to change the R1 to M2 because it's M2 on both sides of it. So, you know, that was really the questions I had. I was curious about, you know, because you got 18 total acres in there and only 1.32 acres are R1 now, and you could put multiple things that would be in compliance with M2 that would be unattractive to a residential section.
And certainly, as I said, it could not be a landfill.
Right.
It's an M2 that doesn't have a.
So you got to have a special use permit to do it. You know, I happened to go and visit this landfill a few years ago with Mr. Stump, Mr. Davenport, and Mr. Davis at Mr. Davis's request when, you know, I guess I've heard it referred to tonight, it's 2 or 3 years ago, when they started putting in some additional vents and trying to address the issues. We were trying to listen to you. And, you know, I've heard you loud and clear tonight, and citizens and opinions and all are very important to me. And when I listen to zoning issues, I have to look, does it fit within the comprehensive plan? And mostly what I heard tonight, from my perspective, was, you know, situations that I understand you coming to your Board of Supervisors, but the landfill component of this, we don't have that control. It would have to be a DEQ or an EPA issue. We don't have the control to require First Piedmont to do anything as Board of Supervisors. That's, you know, that's just the facts of the situation. You know, and I don't want to come across ever to our citizens that we don't care and we don't hear what you're saying. I certainly hope you all will take the opportunity and take First Piedmont up on having a sit down, having a conversation to try to work through and mitigate the problems of the landfill. But the issue tonight for the board is looking at this tract of land and saying, does it fit within the comprehensive plan of Pittsylvania County, and then making that decision. You know, I think everybody sitting in here would certainly say if we were talking about a special use permit to expand the landfill, it'd be a different conversation. But for what we're talking about tonight, we're talking about just rezoning one little piece of property that they already have that has M2 on each side. So, that, you know, that's the dilemma that the board is put within. So, anybody else from the board have anything for First People? Okay, I close the public hearing at 8:22 and entertain the board's pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, this being in my zone, and before I even make comment, yea or nay, after if the motion carries either way, there is still, we have discussion, and I have a certain amount of things that I'm going to address very quickly that were mentioned in the conversations that I want to clarify. Okay, so in case R-20-021, I make the motion to approve the rezoning of the subject property, 1.32 acres, from residential R1 suburban subdivision district to M2 industrial district, heavy industry, to make the zoning consistent with the petitioner's adjacent parcels of land zoned M2, and the rezoning would be consistent with the county's comprehensive plan.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Scarce. Discussion on the motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, let me deal with this situation. I do appreciate all of you that came tonight. I'm not going to say anything, I know I'm not, that you're going to be happy with, because I look at Facebook, I see the disparaging remarks made about me. I will give you one compliment, you did spell my name right. I do appreciate that. That facility has been in operation since 1972, 48 years. I have right here on my phone all 38 pages of DEQ, and I've looked over that. What it's shown me is that they had allegations, as Mr. Stump pointed out. I just looked at it from just a standoffish standpoint. I've had the counselor look at it. I've had, I don't know about Ms. Ragsdale. It showed me that the DEQ department were doing their job. And not only that, but Piedmont was doing their job. They got hit on the first one, four strikes, and they brought that in compliance. Following 2 months later, then they were only hit with 2, and then they got a clean bill of health on the third one down. And I'm not going to disrespect the gentleman who has background academia dealing with said information that's already been covered in the smell. But I will say this, it tells me the DEQ is doing their job, as well as the Piedmont is doing their job. I know full well that the smell, I have smelled it before, I've been over there, I have smelled it. I think that it's gone down somewhat. However, that's not going to be good enough either. First and foremost, we're dealing with 1.32 acres of land. 4.5 years ago, Warren and myself, or 4 years ago, we rode that property. Mr. Davenport told me, sitting behind me with Warren here, and Mr. Stump driving, I know it very vividly, in the black vehicle. I could tell you the tires that were on it. I was looking at everything. He told me that this staging building was going to be taken off of the property, eventually moved, and that office at the facility there, as you come in, that's going to be moved too, because this landfill is not expanding. It's coming in. They've got to move that stuff to open up new cells or whatever to eventually cap it off. This property across the street is where they have to move the office, because the office has got to come off because they've got, as I said, they've got to dig it out and fill it up. Our landfill operation is under the same requirements as theirs from the Department of Environmental Quality. We answer to the state. If we're in violation with the state, the feds can come in and shut it down. My second thought is this: where does trash come from anyway? Where does it come from? It comes from us. It has to go somewhere in volume. All right. In any type of field of athletics, you have a referee. I'm not a referee in this, because this is not a referee position. I'm not here to mitigate in any shape, fashion, or form. I wish I could. But first and foremost, as Mr. Warren has already displayed, is they answer to the Department of Environmental Quality. They came under that restriction in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Ms. Ragsdale, you could correct me on that. It's not my job to go in. I do not run a landfill. And when I made the statement about relocating, that's what I said. I didn't mean that you just got to look. I didn't do that haphazardly. And then I was called an ass jerk for making a statement like that. I wasn't doing that at all. I was just trying to remedy. It wouldn't matter anything. I could have said Jesus Christ is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. You probably would have found something there too. I didn't appreciate it. I'm just saying that. Ms. Smith, I want to address you. I'm disappointed in what you said, because you misconstrued, confused the truth on that. Oh, no, ma'am. I know full well I'm taking this position from a personal standpoint. I'm not going to lie to you. I remember my statements. If I lied or made a misrepresentation, I'm going to come back and straighten it out. I didn't say that. I said Mr. Davenport contributes a lot, and I said, but we couldn't do anything about it because we cannot. I cannot tell Mr. Davenport nor all these board members, tell him you're going to shut that facility down. Can't do it. Wait a minute. I know what I'm talking about. I know. Secondly, that was not my group that I came with. They asked me to come play the bass. All right. Let me say that, no ma'am, no ma'am.
Don't address any individuals directly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The pollution of the land the pastor mentioned, I appreciate that. The reason there was pollution there is because of innocent blood and worshiping of false idols. And I do agree with that. I believe the land will spew. That's what it says in the Old Testament that I read every day. Our own landfill, as I said, is under the same guidelines as his. Water contaminations, I've already ascertained and looked into this. From the federal level, you got water problems, it is your and my responsibility to take those water samples, nobody else. If you got contaminated water, that's your responsibility that you're going to handle. And if you don't believe me, go to the government website. Sixthly, we do not monitor land, soil, air, nor water. We don't do that. As Mr. Warren vividly pointed out, that is not in our purview. We don't do that. That's why we're under the DEQ guidelines, mandates, and all the above, just as Mr. Davenport's operation is. We answer to the same crowd. As I said, we do not have the authority to shut that operation down. The state has the authority to shut him down. fine him thousands of dollars that he knows about, and if that isn't good enough, the federal government will step in and shut it down. That's who the people are that you've got to go to. I don't do that. I see all these horror pictures and all this of the landfill movement and all the trash. What's that? That's right, it's trash. That's where it goes. You gotta have a dump. But I will ask Tommy Stump this. There are a couple properties, if I'm not mistaken, from the aerial view I've looked at, that got 20 cars that butt up against that property. And one parcel of land's got a bunch of paint cans in the back, a trash dump. They're doing their own trash dump. My question is, would the DEQ have any authority, or would that fall under our guideline, Ms. Bragsdale?
No, it fall under us.
Okay. So I do know of 2 properties out there, maybe more. Because of the tree line, I couldn't get a real good view. So we may have people dumping in their backyards against regulations of the county. Now that's where our purview comes in of people, our citizens. That's where we have traction. So those people may need to be put on alert, because these 2 ladies with her protege or her tag team, they're riding through the county and they're looking and they're bringing things into compliance. And Ms. Ragsdale and the Taz is what I call her sidekick. They're doing an outstanding job, and I do appreciate that. But as far as Mr. Davenport's concerned, it's 1.32 acres of land that he wants to put a simple office building on. You had your opportunity to come to the pulpit or the podium there. You didn't like the ones we had 4 years ago when they had an open forum that you could address any and every kind of question there ever was. You weren't happy with that. You wanted to make your display here or there. You wanted to let me just say this. I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this. When it comes to Facebook, I'm not intimidated. You can say what you want to say. I just spell my name right. The second thing is this. If somebody says I didn't give a damn, I'm going to tell you like Merle Haggard said, you damn sure got it wrong. You put my voting record against the backdrop of 4.5 years since I've been on this position. You ask school officials, fire and EMS, and the whole list. Well, I give a real good damn about my people, as well as the whole county. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I don't care what you say what you want to say. But as I said, you were disrespectful, and I don't do that, didn't appreciate it. So, Mr. Chairman, I think I appreciate you getting your community group together. That's great, but you're going to have to take on the state and federal government. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm through, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Any board members got anything to say?
Mr. Chairman, I have something. With all due respect to Mr. Davis, I've listened and I saw a video, Jerry Martin, on the internet that touched me, to be honest with you, because I felt his pain through the video. And I've looked through the packet and I've made some notes here, and I think the biggest thing that I heard here, would you want this next to your house? And you have an ongoing problem of smell that has not been corrected. Being on the cancer board, you know, I heard that correlation to cancer victims. That really bothered me. The churches, that's a place of refuge. You shouldn't have to go to worship and smell garbage. The Planning Commission, that was not a unanimous vote. It was 4 yes, 2 no, and 2 were absent. So if the 2 that were absent hadn't showed up, you'd have had a tie vote there. But to me, the biggest thing...
Not necessarily.
The biggest thing is that I hear the citizens of this community don't want it, and I'm going to stand with the citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No outburst. Anybody else on the board? All right, please cast your votes. All votes have been cast. Please record the vote. Motion carries 6-1. Your property's been rezoned, Mr. Stump, Mr. Davenport. Thank you. All right, we're down to zoning case, public hearing zoning case R20-022, John Martin Gregory, and I'll open the public hearing at 8:34.
Case R-20-022, John Martin Gregory has petitioned to rezone a total of 240.12 acres located on Halifax Road in the Bannister Election District from A1 Agricultural District and B2 Business District General to M2 Industrial District Heavy Industry for lumber, wood products manufacturing, lumber storage, and a permanent sawmill. The Planning Commission recommended by a 6-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Gretchen Clark is here to represent the petition.
Ms. Clark, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, I didn't get the opportunity to hear what Ms. Ragsdale said.
She just told us you were trying to rezone some property for some expansion.
That is correct. It's for the Gregory Lumber Company in Java, 240 acres, 3 parcels to M2. I know it's been a long meeting, but this case is important too. It's important to the Gregory family, and the comprehensive plan indicates that M2 is adequate for this area. So, does anyone have any questions?
We might take those after we see if anybody signed up. We might have some. Anybody sign up, Ms. Ragsdale?
No one signed up, Chairman.
No one signed up. So now we'll see if these gentlemen have any questions. Gentlemen, do you have any questions? Anybody? You answered them all already.
All right.
Okay. So I'll close the public hearing at 8:36 and entertain the board's pleasure.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in case R-202022, I'd like to move that we approve the petition.
Second that.
Oh, that was quick. Yeah. Any discussion on the motion? I don't really have any discussion on the motion, but I would like to make a comment. As I was going through the packet and discussing this with county attorney, I do want to point out that this is a situation that should have been cleaned up a long time ago and wasn't. And I'd like to give kudos to Ms. Ragsdale, who is doing an outstanding job at reviewing our comprehensive plan and making some updates and bringing us into compliance much better. And I want to compliment her and her staff on the outstanding job you're doing. We appreciate it very much, and we look forward to you bringing back when we get to the full study and the completion. I'm already seeing great work, so I know that's going to make a big difference in the county. So I did want to say that before we vote. So we got a motion and a second, so no other discussion. Please cast your votes. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. The property has been rezoned, and from the Board of Supervisors, we'd like to thank the Gregory family and the lumber mill and everything. You all have been committed to the county for a long time, and we appreciate your expansion and your economic development. I remember just a few years we were out here at the Ag Center making an announcement because you were making major expansions and progress there. So once again, thank you very much for your commitment to the county, and we look forward to the next expansion and working with you. So thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Okay, that completes the zoning. Other public hearings. Each person addressing the board under public hearing shall step up, gives his or her name and district, or his or her place of residency for non-county citizens in an audible tone of voice for the record. And unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit his or her address to 3 minutes. Speakers for a group shall be limited to 10 minutes. Speakers shall conclude their remarks at that time. Unless the consent of the board is affirmatively given to extend the speaker's allotted time, absent chairman's approval, no person should be able to speak who is not signed up. Public hearing, cell tower lease approval, Mr. Hicks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back in 2017, you approved a lease with SCS Broadband to install broadband equipment on 7 of our radio towers. We have since built a new tower at Tunstall and a new tower at Old Mayfield, and they have expressed the desire to add equipment to both of those towers also to improve service in the county, and prior to authorizing a lease of the 2 additional towers requires a public hearing.
You need to open the public hearing.
Open the public hearing at 8:40.
No one signed up.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing at 8:41. Board's pleasure.
Chairman, I make a recommendation we approve the lease.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce, seconded by Mr. Dudley. No, Mr. Ingram. Okay.
Easy now.
Didn't hear whose voice had come out. Just heard
It's all
that in the
right.
left ear.
It's okay.
Any discussion on the motion? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Do we have any unfinished business? Mr. Hunt?
No, sir.
We're down to new business, item 12A that was originally 7K that we moved off of the consent agenda. And who's taking this?
Mr. Hicks.
Mr. Hicks.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I'll give you a brief history. I'm on this project. You know, all this damage to the trail and the bridge was done in, I believe, 2018 with a named storm. In March of 2019, this board approved a contract with Dewberry to do a detailed assessment of the damages to the track, which is owned by the county. And that was actually through Western Piedmont. That contract was for $13,680. A final report on that was issued in December of 2019. You also approved a contract for a detailed assessment of the trail and the bridge. And again, that was with, a contract with Western Piedmont for Dewberry to do the work. That was $150,336. A final report was issued again in December of 2019. Keep in mind that the damages, I believe, were in 2018. And finally, in September of 2020, FEMA approved the project at a total estimated cost of $3,028,121.48.
$3 million.
Yeah. FEMA paid 75% of that cost at $2.2 million. The state pays 19% of the cost, which is just over $575,000. And the local share, which is ours, is 6%. And that's estimated right now at about $182,000. The state just granted us an extension on this project. We were supposed to have it finished by December of this year, but we only got approval from FEMA about 2 weeks ago. So they have extended it to December 18th of 2022. So we've got about 2 years to finish this project. Our next step is to hire an engineer, do the plans and specifications, bid the project, and construct the project. Our first option, we went back to Western Piedmont and Dewberry, and asked for a price for an amendment to the original contract, which you have a copy of, and I believe the total cost of all of their services was just over $320,000. That's sort of where we are this evening. And I think the board had expressed some concerns and wanted to further discuss that. So that's sort of where we are right now.
Yes, gentlemen, I asked to pull this off the consent agenda myself after reading the information. I certainly think it's a no-brainer to do the project. but I think the architectural and design work, engineering work from Dewberry and Davis for an additional $322,000, after we've already paid them, or they've been paid almost $164,000 they've got to have had some of the information already in hand and duplicate the service. And that work is going to be more than 10% of the total project. I just feel like we need to tell staff to go back and tell them to sharpen their pencil.
Absolutely.
And if they're not willing to sharpen their pencil, well, maybe we need to go back to the drawing board and do an RFP from the very beginning. $322,000 additional funds. It just jumped off the page at me. It's just being absolutely ridiculous. And they try to, if I'm reading this correctly, they're looking at it on an hourly basis, making estimates. You know, no. Why don't they come back and give us a firm contracted price for the work they will do for this project? You know, this is an open-end deal. You know, they're just giving you an estimate. For me, I'm not going to vote to support this in the manner it's in. I mean, I understand we're paying 6%, but the bottom line is it's all tax dollars in some way, shape, fashion, or form.
Tom, I would just add, if we go back out again, we do an RFQ, which is request for qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you select a single engineer. And, if they give you a cost estimate, if you don't like their cost estimate, you can go to the second one or to the third one, but we can't take bids on it. That's just what the...
Well, whatever it takes to get the price down. You know, I'm happy with Dewberry. They do great work. We've worked with them a lot, but in this particular case, I think they're way out of line, and they should get themselves in line. I mean, you've already spent $164,000, which means they should already have the base reporting to start the next phase.
That's right.
They shouldn't be billing us a second time for the startup of that phase. That's just, that's just the way I'm seeing it.
It's not like they're coming in fresh. Yeah.
But, those base reports, could be used by someone else if they had to.
Well, because we own them, we paid for them.
Yeah.
$164,000.
Next question. So, I understand that 322, are you looking for the entire project cost to come down? Because I guess that 6% is going to be relative.
No, I'm just looking for
the engineering.
Because we've already, it's a duplication of a lot of work.
I got you. But I just didn't know if the $3 million that had been approved, and then the FEMA's coverage had been approved, then the state part has been approved, how it would work if the whole project
I'm just talking
would be
about
affected.
engineering and design.
FEMA will pay based on the final cost of the project. If it's less, they'll pay less. If it's more,
That's
they'll
what
pay
I
more.
was thinking. We need to work on that so the percentages can remain the same, because I think that's probably non-negotiable, but the amounts and those percentages can be reduced.
Yeah. And so you won't know till you take bids just what the actual
Actual price is
cost is going to be. But if it goes up, they pay more.
But we need we need a contract with the engineering and design work for this final design that says it's X, not an hourly rate. They do that for projects all the time.
I think it was a cost not to exceed. But
That's
there
in
were
here.
several things listed that were not included.
If that's in here, I did not see that, and I read this thing, I thought pretty thorough. Total hourly estimated fee, items 1 through 6 above. It's an estimate.
Yeah.
Nothing in here says that there's nothing, I didn't read anything in here, Ms. Hicks, that said there wouldn't exceed.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Would be satisfied with a not to exceed amount? For instance, if we went back to them and said...
Not at 322.
But if we said cap your fee at 8.5% and not to exceed that amount?
Whatever the amount's not 322.
I understand. I'm trying to figure out what type of...
I mean, if you did 8% of the project based on the way you estimated the project, You're talking about $400,000. We've already spent 163, 164. Then I'm talking about $200,000, $234,000. If you're looking at, 8% on a $500,000.
We're happy to go back to Dewberry and ask for any type of arrangement the board would like. And if the board wants to reject this formally or table it and ask staff to come back with a better number, whatever action the board takes, we are happy to pursue it.
I think maybe tabling it would be the idea to it.
Based on having a hard date for the completion, we need to go fast, so can we do this in
Good
30
news, we got
days?
time. 30 days give you enough time?
Yeah.
Why don't we go to them, ask them to sharpen their pencils, and
Yeah.
they're either gonna say yea or nay, and then we'll bring you back some kind of report at November
That's
meeting
right.
for y'all to act.
Really sharp.
Do we need a motion to table, Mr. Hunt?
Just me.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ingram, seconded by Mr. Dudley. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, please cast your votes.
Can I ask a post-vote question?
Yeah.
Sure.
We spend a lot of money with Dewberry and Davis, don't we?
Yes.
Any idea how much collectively between all the projects that go on? And,
Might not want to know.
okay, I'll retract that, but do they have any competition?
All right, Vaden, I got a question maybe for you. It says at the top where we voted, Ringo Rail Trail Engineering Services Agreement Approval. Are we going to
We
reword
made a
that?
substitute motion.
Okay, very good,
There was
okay.
no motion on this. There was
Very
never a motion on this.
I've already voted, so I'm good with it.
Okay.
I just
Please record the vote.
I just want to be certain we want on the same thing.
The
Thank you.
vote to table is unanimous.
Very good.
Okay, we're down to new business, Franklin County 12B.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 2020-10-04.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Farmer, seconded by Mr. Ingram. Is any discussion on the motion?
Just for public comment, what this resolution is back in May, we originally, as a board, made a decision to start negotiations with Franklin County in terms of Cool Branch running calls into that county, and we put a 30-day note out there. We've extended that 30-day 4 additional times, and what this resolution is saying is this will be a final extension, and you have until December 1 for a decision, and we also have several options that we still would like to have out there in hopes of working the deal out between Cool Branch and Franklin County and Pittsylvania County that's one that's favorable for all of our citizens, especially in the Collins-Gretna district.
Any further discussion on the motion? I'd just like to comment briefly. Thank Mr. Farmer for his work on these efforts, and staff, and also the other board members for their support of Mr. Farmer in this endeavor. Mr. Farmer has worked tirelessly to try to take care of the citizens of Pittsylvania County, and also the first due service that was being provided to Franklin County citizens. That's been foremost in his thought during this whole process, and matter of fact, the entire board in their support of that. Unfortunately, we didn't have the same foresight and importance expressed so far by our counterparts in Franklin County, so I would encourage them to do that and realize that it's really all about the citizens. Thank you. Please cast your votes. Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. We're down to appointments. IDA appointment
I can
for
handle
the Collins-Gretna district.
Currently, I've had a gentleman that's been on this board for, I believe, approximately 17 years, Mr. Charlie Mahan, and he's decided that he would like to step aside and allow someone new to take the Collins-Gretna position. And I have a gentleman I'd like to make a motion to appoint. His name is Mr. Bill Knuckles. Bill is the current area general manager of 4 southern state facilities. I believe his experience and knowledge will be a great benefit to this board, and I'm just excited that he can take the momentum and all the great results that Mr. Mahan's been a part of throughout the years and continue on serving. So, I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Motion made, and who got the second in? Dr. Miller.
Dr. Miller got it.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, please cast your votes. Make my motion for me about Richard Waters.
Okay.
Planning.
All right, I'll be making a motion for Chairman Warren, Mr. Richard Waters for the Planning Commission.
Second.
I don't know who he is, but if Bob...
I'm gonna take care of that.
If Bob recommends...
He gonna take care of that in just a little bit.
I'll move forward.
Actually, I have mixed emotions tonight. I'm very excited about Mr. Waters coming on, and he showed interest in this several months ago. I had discussions with him. He went through the process and did the application and sent it in to the county, and we had further discussions. My mixed emotions come with the fact that I am excited about him coming on board, and I'm sure he'll do a great job. Mr. Waters, I will tell you, you're filling some big shoes. Mr. Richard Modley, who has served the county unbelievably on the Planning Commission for a long time, is stepping down. As everyone knows, his wife is older and ill and is requiring a great deal more of his time. And in the conversations I had with him, he expressed that, you know, it was time to do that, but it was also time to have some younger and new ideas to add to the board. And, you know, that's the comments of wisdom from someone sees that, you know, it's time to let someone else have an opportunity. So I appreciate that very much, even though I will certainly miss Richard Motley, but I look forward to working with Richard Waters in the Chatham Wares District. So thank you all very much. Please cast your votes. Please record the vote. Thank you. Carries unanimously. Done with our appointments tonight. Matters from work session. Do we have any more to carry over, Mr. Hunt?
No, sir.
Okay. Board members' reports. I'll do different this time. Start with Mr. Farmer.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything prepared, but just sitting here thinking, you know, the Cool Branch station is one that I've put a lot of thought into, and we've really tried really hard in the last few months to just work that out for everyone, both Franklin and Pittsylvania County. And I'm going to stay optimistic over the next 45 days that we can continue to do that and find a good resolution that's compromising for everyone. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Ingram.
Yes, sir. This week we remembered that the late Sheriff Taylor McGregor has been gone for 10 years. He hired me April of '79, and of course he hired Mike Taylor as well as myself, and I just wanted to mention him for his many, many years of service to this county. Once again, remembering our teachers, the school staff, the you know, the pandemic and what those folks are up against as far as taking care of our children is just, again, phenomenal. You know, we have this election. By the time we meet again, it'll be a new day, that's for sure. But I wanted to thank the fire departments in my district, Dry Fork, Cascade, Bronson, and Tunstall. They all do a phenomenal job. Most of them rate about 100% on call response, be it fire and rescue. And I want to thank you, Mr. Warren, and you, Mr. Farmer, for the work that you guys have done working with Cool Branch. I can only imagine. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Mr. Dudley.
Yes, sir. We discussed Richard Motley tonight, and I'll say this. Richard showed me the ropes and showed me how things work in the Planning Commission, and he has been a huge help for me to understand how processes go here. And that guy is a wealth of knowledge. We will miss him, and but I'm excited to have Richard Waters come on board also. And just to let you feet get a little wet, what you saw tonight is some of the stuff you're going to have to deal with, so welcome to the big leagues. But Richard's a wonderful person. I know him personally, good friend, him and Deborah Jean and Kathy, Richard's sister, just great people. Appreciate them all, love them. And also, second, let's continue to lift up Kaylin. She just lost her daddy, and I had the privilege of being at the funeral, and I'm going to tell you, she got up to speak, and it was something that I don't know that I could have ever done, but what a blessing it was. I just hope that maybe one day my daughter can stand up and say the good things about me that she said about hers. And it's a void, it's a big void for her. It's a daily process, and let's just continue to lift her up in prayer. And last but not least, before our next meeting, we got a big deal going on, and it's a vote. And I want to urge everybody that can to get out and vote, call a neighbor, pick up somebody that may not have a ride. I want to encourage everybody to get out and vote. One of the most important votes that in my entire lifetime is going to be in a couple weeks. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Miller.
Yes, sir. Just a couple of items. I did have the opportunity for many years also to serve on the Planning Commission, and I remember Mr. Richard Motley as being a very consistent and knowledgeable Planning Commission member.
Yeah.
And so I definitely want to add credos to him and his good work. And also with Mr. Dudley being here, when he came on to the Planning Commission, I think it was my last year, and he was voted as vice chairman. Are you still the vice chairman? Yes, sir. You're not. Well, anyway, you have experience, so I hope that will bode well for you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Davis.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything else tonight. Thank you so kindly.
Mr. Scares.
Yeah, I just have one thing, try to make it short so we can get out of here, but in our consent agenda, we passed a resolution opposing any changes to qualified immunity for our law enforcement here in the state. I hope it'll go up to Richmond and make them understand that we need to support our law enforcement, and I hope that the attacks that not only our General Assembly leaders, but also our governor have done to our law enforcement and the rule of law has been, I'm thoroughly disgusted with that, and I hope that we can carry over the landslide that's going to happen on November 3rd through to next year's vote, and we can clean out the vipers in the General Assembly that are attacking our law enforcement. That's all I have.
Thank you. I just have a couple of items. The Roy Bird dedication for his bridge was last Thursday, which I attended. Mr. Ingram attended. I appreciated Mr. Ingram being there in support. Many of you already know this, but Mr. Bird was a member of the Board of Supervisors at one time and also was mayor of Chatham for about 6 years. Outstanding individual for the community, and certainly was well attended and a well-deserved recognition. So I don't think the sign's gone up yet, but it'll be up shortly. It was on display that day. So. Also, just a reminder, the Pet Center fundraiser is this Saturday night. The tickets are going like wildfire, so you better get them, and you better get them quick. You don't want to miss the event. It's going to be a great event. Caleb's told me that several times, so if you need tickets, he's your man, or you can go on the county website. Please get your tickets in support of the Pet Center. It'll be a great time. The other thing I want to do tonight, I know it's been a long meeting, and we do this from time to time, but the work that has been done in the last particular 60 days, they do an outstanding job all the time, but Mr. Hicks, I think the rest of them are gone, Mr. Hunt, Mr. Smitherman from the executive team, I tip my hat to you. It's been a busy, really busy 60 days with everything going on from Cool Branch to 100 other things that some of them we're not privy to talk about yet, but they have done an outstanding job, and I don't want to go without saying we appreciate your efforts, appreciate your work. It doesn't go unnoticed. And that's all I have tonight. Mr. Smitherman, do you have anything, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I absolutely want to reinforce that we have an excellent event this weekend, the Bark at Q at Bannister Bend. It is our big fundraiser that we're trying to catch up because we lost this opportunity back in the early spring because of COVID. So we encourage everyone to come. It will be a properly socially distanced event with live music, great food, beverages, and an auction. It is going to be a fabulous event at a fantastic facility at Bannister Bend Farm. We hope that everyone will reach out for tickets, check our Facebook page, call the Pet Center, but we look forward to having a big crowd. Also, slightly related is to publicly again welcome Caleb Ayers to our team in administration. I hope that the public, and I know that the Board of Supervisors has noticed that our outflow of information has dramatically increased. We hope that his work products will increase the education of our citizenry about the things we do at Pittsylvania County, as well as the great opportunities that they have to participate in the good things going on in Pittsylvania County. And finally, I'd like to point out the excellent operations of our elections office and our registrar at the Old Dominion Agricultural Center. If you have not had the privilege of early voting, it is a wonderful process. Doesn't take more than 3 minutes. And that's Kelly Kazee and her staff are doing a fantastic job. We look forward to the opening of our new election center, which is presently in demolition on Depot Street and will soon be, within the next 60 days, completed. And our elections department will have a new home and a fitting modern facility right here in downtown Chatham. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Hunt, do you have anything tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Nothing else to come before the board. I'll declare the meeting adjourned.